This is a documentary on the Kenosha shootings, beginning with Jacob Blake. It came out a few days ago. I've been wanting to do an episode on it, a reaction video. Finally got around to it because it's Thanksgiving and not a lot going on around here. So I'm going to go ahead, tell you what I think about it. For the most part, they do a pretty good job. I got a few issues with some of the things here, but overall, not too shabby. And by the way, I'm going to break this thing into two parts, pretty much right down the middle. So this will be the first part that's going to focus on the Jacob Blake shooting. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dredd Show.
Well, here we are in the perfectly pleasant city of Kenosha, Wisconsin, walking through the ruins that remain after national obsession. In the summer of 2020, on this block of cracked concrete, a cell phone captures what we've been told is a common occurrence in this country. A black man getting gunned down by a white police officer. The clip instantly goes viral, sparking days of mass protests and nights of violent riots. 3 days after the shooting, a baby-faced teenager comes to Kenosha with an AR-15.
Okay, so first of all, he says a baby-faced teenager comes to Kenosha with an AR-15, which rather implies that Kyle got into his car with the rifle and drove across state lines, that whole dealio. They didn't say that, but that's sort of the implication. And I get the fact that they don't want to go into deeply with what happened there at this point. That's not what this documentary is about. But still, I just wanted to point that out, that that's a little bit misleading.
Night ends in fatal chaos and the birth of a new viral obsession, a murder trial that's must-watch TV. These twin tragedies were instantly beamed into every cranny of our lives, and yet no one knows what really happened.
That's very true. By the way, this was not the first of the trials to grab national attention, if you remember O.J. Simpson.
We're here to look beneath the lies we told ourselves about Kenosha. To find the catastrophe that wouldn't fit in the frame. August 22nd, 2020. Officer Rustin Shetsky fires 7 shots into the body of Jacob Blake. National media descends and quickly erects the 7 sacred tenets of Jacob Blake's martyrdom. The facts demonstrating the depths of this injustice. First, Blake had been breaking up a fight.
He was trying to break up a fight.
He was there to break up a fight.
Second, the police immediately escalated to deadly force.
You shoot first and you ask questions later.
They jumped
By the way, that's Benjamin Crump. He is the face of evil.
straight to this black man is gonna try kill us if we don't kill him first.
Trevor Noah, who just spoke as a master propagandist.
Third, Jacob Blake was unarmed.
Video of a police-involved shooting of an unarmed black man.
There was no weapon involved.
Fourth, he was getting into his own car.
As he walked around the front of his gray SUV.
Shot repeatedly while reaching into his car.
Fifth, Blake was shot in the back 7 times.
Shot 7 times in the back.
You see
I'm sorry, Benjamin Crump is not the biggest face of evil.
Jacob Blake get shot in the back 7 times.
Sixth, the police had endangered his children.
It was shot 7 times in the back in front of his children.
In front of his 3 young sons.
Seventh, the police used excessive force.
Brutal. Excessive force.
This felt like some sort of vendetta being taken out on a member of our community.
Blake survives, but his body is broken.
To all the young cats out there, and even the older ones, your life could be taken from you like this, man.
Especially when you do stupid things like fight the cops. Mm-hmm.
Had an opportunity to spend some time with Jacob on the phone. He talked about how nothing was going to defeat him.
Oh, there's Papa Joe Biden talking to his buddy Jacob Blake. Man, it's just the bond that they have together. Good grief. I mean, this man is repulsive. All right? He's repulsive.
The next day in Orlando, Florida.
NBA teams refusing to play their scheduled games, a direct result of a shooting which took place.
And by the way, there's the real true rocket scientist who examines these events deeply and thoroughly, and only then will come to form a conclusion about what really happened.
Place in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
If you watch that video, you don't need to be black to be outraged.
No, you just have to be an idiot to be outraged. Or completely uninformed.
You need to be American and outraged.
The protests cascade, with athletes in professional soccer, tennis, and women's basketball also refusing to play in protest.
Whoever came up with that idea, it is striking. Jacob Blake shot 7 times in the back.
2 years later, no one, not the pundits or the politicians or the multimillionaire athletes, has been forced to confront that every single one of their sacred 7 is a lie.
And they'll call you racist for even trying to get them to confront those lies. That's what they do.
A flat-out fabrication.
The U.S. attorney out there in Wisconsin called me to brief me on it. It was very quickly, it was clear to me that this appeared to be a justified shooting, and it was not presented that way from the first moment.
Jacob Blake was not breaking up a fight. He'd been invited to attend the birthday party of one of the sons he has with LaQuisha Booker, another Kenosha native. They're unmarried and estranged.
So his kids are not really having a father in their lives. That's the central theme of this entire documentary.
Something makes him suspect she slept with a neighbor. There's a screaming match, and at 5:11 p.m., she makes this call to 911.
Yes, I need the officer to 2805 4U Street, Unit D. Jacob Blake is here, and he's not supposed to be here.
He's not supposed to be here, but we had just heard that he was invited there. I have a feeling he wasn't invited. He heard about the party and decided to crash it.
The police on the way found out that he had an outstanding felony warrant for sexual offense.
And by the way, a sexual offense, I thought that was supposed to be a really bad thing. I thought that the left out there were outraged by sexual offenses against women. I thought that was almost worse than murder. Whatever happened to that?
4 months earlier, Blake had broken into Booker's home, raped her with his finger, stolen her car, and made 2 $500 withdrawals from her bank account. She had filed charges.
That meant that they had to arrest him and take him into custody. There was no choice. They had to arrest him.
The police did not immediately escalate. 5:13 p.m., 3 officers arrive. Blake is loading 2 unidentified children into a vehicle. Officer Shesky immediately tries to arrest him.
He resisted from the very beginning. They tried 2 or 3 times to taser him.
They tased me right away down there.
They tased me right away. He even admitted it, but do you think the left is out there admitting to such? No.
Okay. I ripped it out.
Okay.
They said don't do that. So then they hit me again.
Okay.
I'm like, I ripped that one out.
He wrestled with them. He fought with them. He overpowered them.
Blake headlocks Shesky, pulls him to the ground, stands up and starts walking around the front of the car.
By the way, let's take a look here. Notice the female officer.
Blake headlocks Shesky, pulls him to the ground, stands up and starts walking.
She does nothing. She's standing behind one of the neighbors, yelling, I guess, or something. She's not getting into the fight. There's really only 2 cops there, not 3.
Walking around the front of the car. Jacob.
Where's the female officer? Gee, you don't see her in the picture at all, do you?
Blake was not unarmed.
That a witness had said that the police had yelled at him to drop the knife.
All right. Were you carrying a knife?
Yeah, I had my knife.
You had a knife on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You had a knife on you? Yeah.
That isn't his car. That's LaQuisha Booker's car, and she's worried he's about to wreck it.
He's crashed numerous of my vehicles in the past, and I literally just bought one, like yesterday.
Blake was not shot in the back 7 times. An official state investigation later finds only 4 bullet holes in Blake's back. The other 3 are in his left flank, suggesting that the instant before Shesky shot, Blake may have been swinging back around to slash at him with the open knife in his right hand.
That's new information to me. I did not know that. I thought that all shots were in his back. Hey, the more you dig, the more you find out, right? That's what it's all about. It's about opening your ears and eyes to information, digesting it, and if necessary, maybe reshaping your thought processes a little.
The police were not endangering his children. Jacob Blake was. LaQuisha Booker had told the officers, "He has my kids. My kids are in the car and he won't give me back my keys."
He was going into the car where there were kids. Once he had access to the kids, he could hold them hostage, or he could drive away threatening people in the community with a high-speed chase with kids in the car. What are the police supposed to do?
The force was not excessive. Officer Shesky perfectly followed protocols.
All these situations that use multiple shots, the media commonly does this. So many shots were fired. Police officers will continue to squeeze off rounds until they actually see the result is no longer, and there's no longer a threat.
After Blake is neutralized, Shesky immediately kneels down and starts administering CPR. He says to Blake, "You're going to be okay." So a supposed incident of white supremacist terror was in fact a white man preventing the kidnapping of 2 black boys. And our sports gods had been sanctifying the rapist of a black woman who'd been scheming to steal black children.
That's a little bit exaggerated. Okay, so to be clear, we don't know what Jacob Blake's motive was to drive off with the kids. He might not have had any ill intent at all, but the officer doesn't know that. And the officer has to take action. Again, the Wisconsin DOJ investigated this, and their recommendation was that this was a justified shooting.
When I heard about Jacob Blake, and I heard the standard media version, I knew that the black man with his hands up being shot by a white cop is a symbol. And you can feel where I'm going. There is a Jesus parallel to this. The idea that to be a black man is to walk about in danger of being iced by a white cop. And the question as to what that parable means in terms of correspondence with reality, you're not supposed to ask too many questions.
Yeah, you ask too many questions, and you can actually not get tenure at your university.
There are about 1,000 people shot and killed by the police a year. Of those, a quarter are African American. In only a very small fraction of cases is the individual unarmed, 5%.
Okay, there's where the myth comes in, you see? To hear other people tell it, this is a common everyday experience. It is not. Getting unjustifiably shot by the police is actually an extremely rare event. Getting shot by the police when you have done nothing wrong is even rarer. All you have to do is just lead a clean life, and then if the police do come across you, just don't be an asshole, and you'll be fine. The exceptions are extraordinarily tiny.
Less than a half a dozen a year generally. There are over 60,000 dangerous attacks on police officers a year. It doesn't suggest gun-happy police officers.
The horrible thing is that we really are dealing with parables. It really is separate from the truth.
From the video that I saw, he's trying to get away from them. He's walking away. He's getting into his car as he gets shot 7 times in his back. I was there like the next day. Like, he got shot and I was there like the next day. Because, I mean, I'm a black man, so this was like not spectacle for me. This was real fucking life.
Notice how the reality always shifts onto them. It's not about what really happened. It's about how it affects me. And this is my reality. This is how I feel about it. This is how it hits hard with me. Therefore, you should believe what happened. And that's what's happening here. And that's why when you question what happened, they take it as a personal affront. Because you're not attacking the facts as they're telling them. You're attacking their reality. You're attacking their feelings, their experiences. It's crap.
Did you follow the Jacob Blake case at all afterwards?
Yeah, I didn't follow any of it.
I didn't follow any of it. In other words, once I formulated my experience, my reality, irrespective of what really happened, I don't want to see anything coming at me that might tell me that the facts are wrong. So I'm going to shut it out completely. I have formulated my take on the matter and I'm going to keep it, and facts be damned. Most likely, he started hearing a few things out there that might have indicated that, guess what? All that I thought, maybe some of that was not even true, and so he shut it down. He looked upon it like if it was a viral attack on his computer. And when you experience a viral attack, the first impulse is disconnected from the internet, right? Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Matter of fact, now that you bring it up, I'm like, wow, why didn't I? But no, I didn't follow any of it.
And then what we're dealing with is that racism is always just behind every tree, just under every rock. And a white cop, the second he or she gets nervous, is going to pull that gun.
That slavery mentality, like, you don't bow down to me, I'm going to shoot you in the back.
Your job is to believe in the legend rather than what actually happened.
They couldn't tase him. They couldn't do any of that stuff.
No, I mean, they did tase him. Yeah, they tased him twice.
You care more about showing that you know racism exists rather than caring about the children.
She was screaming at this police officer, like, don't let him take them.
You get no bigger advocate for black women than black women being heard.
Okay, now he says here, get this. You get no bigger advocate. He is the top advocate of all for black women and black women being heard. I mean, you can search the world wide over and you're not going to find a bigger advocate than him. Hang on.
And being understood and respected than me. But if you ask me, what about her concerns? My aunt, fuck her concerns.
There you go. You see, they can't even hold a consistent argument.
You don't have to think, you just have to feel, because when it comes to black people, everything is about feelings.
To make a film that then says, oh no, well, let's explore all the ways that Jacob Blake was wrong. It's just like, dang, for real?
For real. Yeah, that's called context. It's called making sure that we know everything that took place here so that we can formulate a proper understanding. He doesn't want to have any of it. He only wants to hear those things that affirms his understanding of what took place. And how dare you dare you go into Jacob Blake's background?
Like the underlying thing is bullshit. It's just like, what? Like for real?
So, attention is a limited resource. And in a moment of crisis, a lot of Americans just thought that this race narrative was what you should have given it to. I mean, outside of that, what else can you really say about Kenosha? But you seem to think there's an even deeper story or something. Well, what is it?
Let me start like this, okay? Burn away the media manufactured fiction about Jacob Blake. And what do you see? You see a bad man, but you ought to also see an abandoned boy.
Okay, so they're now going to be talking about Jacob Blake's background, his upbringing, the fact that he didn't really have a father in his life. I'm going to hold that one for part 2 of this video series. And I'm going to have a lot more to say in part 2 than I did here. Here, I don't really disagree with much of what's been said here, well, except for the ding-a-lings that are Jacob Blake fanboys. But I'm going to have a lot more to say in the next installment. Like my video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for part 2.